Yes, ma'am.
Janice Jackman, 27 West Over Drive. This is very hard for me to speak about this property. I have a lot of emotions tied to it. But I'll do my best. I wish I could look up and see you all clearly when I look up, but I need these reading glasses to be able to read what I wrote, and it doesn't allow me to do that. There is a buzzword out there. Have you heard it? It's a goal of 99% of the companies in existence. Politicians speak of it. Educational institutions want to be a part of it. World leaders boast of their efforts to hit the mark in this category. But I ask you, how are Webster policymakers doing in this regard? And what is the buzzword, you ask? Sustainability. This moment here tonight is an opportunity to see if Webster is hitting the mark. I happen to know a little bit about sustainability, in addition to what we see on TV and whatnot that's in the media. I wrote a book on this topic when I took a half-year sabbatical and I moved to South America and lived in the country of Chile. I attended seminar after lecture after presentation by some of the world's top experts in this field. One of the biggest takeaways is that sustainability is multi-pronged. Besides an economic aspect, there are two others, and the other 2/3 of this pie that I want to highlight regarding the proposed property development. The first is societal. This property...
Let me ask you a question.
Yep.
Okay, you're going to be going on for a while.
I'm not.
I'm not going to leave that much time.
I understand.
This project, I want you to just specifically address this project.
I am.
You don't need to know about sustainability. Those are books we've all seen before. Let's stick right to this project, please.
I am. Can I continue?
Well, if you're sticking with
This property butts up to a nature trail. People in the housing nearby can tell you it's a nature haven. They themselves see the wildlife in their own neighborhood and they love it. Hence, I think many of them are here. The love of the animals is one reason we have joined together. The preservation of this property and the bird trail create a human haven of walkers, bird watchers, people in need of a respite from a busy day, an opportunity to commune and meditate while in nature. Destroying the wooded lot will do nothing to help the peace and serenity of the trail that is beloved by Webster society. The bird trail risks becoming a tiny sliver, isolated in its own natural wonder. People don't want nature that is 1 foot wide to the left and 1 foot wide to the right. They want the full beauty, feeling like they enter a special spot in Webster where life is worth living. They can leave their cares behind for a few moments and connect with that green thing called nature that is a healer to all who partake of it. And again, it is not meant to be 1 foot to the right and 1 foot to the left. That wooded property adjacent to the bird trail is so vitally important to the preservation of this nature, which fulfills this part of the societal aspect of sustainability. It's a place where people go and commune and feel better. It's where they see nature that is good for society. The other prong of sustainability is simply environmental. This is clearly a moment for you to consider this aspect as one of great importance. It is an area that ought to be protected. It is full of wildlife. It is a haven of original woods, not to be replaced by a tree planting here and there. These are areas that offer value as carbon sinks, much needed in fighting the global warming we're all experiencing. These trees provide a home to countless species that we keep leaving habitat-less by overbuilding. Certainly their well-being has to be considered. They are living creatures that survive and thrive by being separate from humans in their own space. We must provide it to them as good stewards of the land. I'm on my last page. I hope Webster will consider this key topic that everyone else is trying desperately to prove that they're in that arena. Webster, make a choice tonight to act sustainably and think about the environment and the society's needs, not just economic goals. Be courageous, Webster board in front of me. Your town will thank you for it.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Let me ask you a question, please. The property has been there, right? It's next to the bird sanctuary. What would you propose we do with it?
You want my honest answer?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm asking.
Okay, my honest answer is have the courage to leave it alone.
How do we do that? Tell me how.
I don't.
No, this is, wait a minute, folks. Hold on. This is a very important part of this. We get this all the time. You know, Mom and Pa had a farm.
Yep.
You know? And you or others have worked at Xerox, Kodak, Bausch & Lomb, had pensions and everything else. But Mom and Pa worked the farm their whole life. Now they're 65, 70 years old. They want to retire. That property is their pension. The zoning allows precisely what the applicant is looking for. So would you tell that farmer that he can't sell his property?
This isn't a farm.
Wait, whoa. Excuse me, I'm not talking to you yet. I'll let you go up and talk, hold on. Nobody said it is a farm, it's a piece of property. My point is, that piece of property was owned by someone who, for whatever reason, wants to sell it. Now, anyone could have bought the parcel. This board doesn't distinguish between who's right, who's wrong, or anything like that. It's who owns the property. Does it meet the requirements of zoning? Does it meet the requirements of zoning? Is it an allowed use? Yes, it is. We cannot say you cannot develop a piece of property. There's a criteria, restrictions for it. Yes, absolutely. But we cannot say you can't develop it. I'm not saying it's a farm by any means, but it is a parcel of land, and it is developable. That's it. Now, anyone could buy a parcel. That's what you do. You buy it. If you want it, you buy it. I don't know how many people are familiar. The town of Webster's got more open space parkland than anybody in Monroe County.
If I can just say, that seems funny to me, as everywhere I drive, there's either a for sale sign on the land, which you're saying they're entitled to, but there are so many housing developments, and I'm a teacher. I know a lot of community members, a lot of parents, a lot of families, a lot of teachers. No one can believe the overdevelopment of this town. So if you say to me, oh, we have more park space than any other town, I find that hard to believe, unless you're talking about all of Lake Road and all of that.
No, I'm talking parklands, like town-owned parklands, I'm talking.
This is not even, however.
Okay.
I just want to say, this is not even just a piece of land. It's natural, original woods. And it's home to, so many species, B, it borders a natural trail.
Denise, we understand that. What I'm saying is...
Janice, please.
I'm sorry.
Janice.
It is zoned for residential...
Well, then is it your zoning code that's improper? Can I ask that?
It is not improper. It is what it currently is. Okay, look.
When was the last time it was looked at and changed?
You left your comment. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, well, I thought you were engaging me, but I guess not. So, someone else come up, please.
Anyone wish to speak for? And would please stick just to this specific project.
Yeah.
Dorothy Fay, 742 High Tower.
Planning board members, thank you for the opportunity to share my concerns about this development as it currently is presented. My concern, as Janice's, was that it's along the Birdsong Trail. I believe the board has the ability to put more restrictions on the development of this property per the town code under development, chapter 296, section 19C.
Give me an example, so is what do we do? I mean,
The board finds project would have if the board finds that the project would have an adverse impact on adjacent land uses, it can add additional restrictions. Birdsong is an important wildlife corridor connecting large parcels of undeveloped properties. I would ask the board to consider the character of this mature treed lot and require the developer to consult with an arborist and present a plan that not only marks all mature, healthy trees defined by Webster Code under Chapter 296, Section 15A, Item 19 as 8 inches in diameter, but presents a plan that preserves these trees and the existing vegetation vital to the wildlife habitat. Webster's comprehensive plan may have been completed in 2008, but it was prepared by a committee consisting of Webster citizens and town officials. It included a future land use plan and it recommended cluster development. However, according to the plan, the space created in the open portion of the cluster was to preserve wildlife habitat, reduce erosion, and enhance scenic and aesthetic qualities, according to page 3 of the comprehensive plan. All our town departments and boards should be using the comprehensive plan as a roadmap in their own long-range planning. I ask this board to honor our comprehensive plan's intent and hold the developer to those objectives. I would further encourage the board to consider requesting a more in-depth seeker review, as this is an ecologically sensitive area. Our comprehensive plan on page 30 does indicate that the planning board should utilize this tool to protect development in Webster. The property has areas of standing water and does filter to Mill Creek, an important watershed that needs to be protected. I would propose that this property as such provides critical habitat, and a retention pond as a proposed and specimen landscape plantings does not protect or provide appropriate cover for most wildlife. This is also an important safe corridor between Charles Sexton Park and the less developed properties to the east. I would ask the board to consider the environmental pressure it has already placed on the Birdsong Trail with its prior approval of the cluster development at the Orchard Street Holt Road entrance to the trail. I would contend that there is a silent majority of Webster residents who view the preservation of mature, undisturbed treed lots as critical to the aesthetic qualities of Webster. This large parcel was designated as a parcel of interest in a prior commission studies by the town, and as such, the developer should be held to a higher standards that are available within our current code. Thank you.
Do we have a copy of that letter you have? Ma'am? Can we get a copy of that letter? Some of your comments, I agree 100%, and that's why that's what the engineer is just saying. Part of the proposal is for a seeker review, which is an environmental review. That's increasing everything, drainage, air quality, lighting, and everything. So that's correct. And as far as the trees and stuff, that's standard also. The trees get marked, 8-inch trees, 10-inch, depending on the subdivision, what they look like. But you're on cue with that, and that's a legitimate request. Those are good. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
No problem. I'm Elizabeth Decker. My address is 726 Bell Arbor Trail. Can you speak up a little bit? Did you guys hear that? Yeah. I've been here since November 2022. I would like to start by expressing a heartfelt thank you to the board for your faithful service to this town. Thank you for the chance to address you. I'm grateful that you're willing to listen to all of us because I know it's hard to take this. I will also try to skip over things that have already been addressed. My journey to Webster was exhaustive. I looked everywhere from around Quakeway, halfway through Wayne County, and somebody turned to me and told me that Webster is a town where life is worth living, so I was kind of happy to see that behind me there today. And I would agree with that assessment. My home I bought on purpose because it was near this trail, and part of the real estate livability score that you get when you're picking a home has to do with whether you can get places without using a car. And I'm very excited to tell you that by walking or riding my bike, I can get to the rec center, to the town of Webster, to the lake, and to the North Ponds Park, all by their fabulous, excellent trail system, and I use it every day. And as such, what I want to address is what I have seen as decimation on the bird trail in the last week, and either the town is doing it, or it's that the division that she mentioned, just west of Orchard and north of the trail, that I think is already approved. There were two bulldozers, a red one and a blue one, driving right down the trail at me while I was trying to walk. They ruined both sides of the trail. They drove down the creek up the other side, and they clear cut. You could hear the cracking of the trees, and they made a swath wide enough to be a road on the north side of the creek, at least 100 feet long. They cleared another 60, 70 feet just south of the creek and directly on the trail. I have pictures of all of it. I went over yesterday, and I took them yesterday afternoon. It is devastating. So if this building project is responsible for the bulldozers, and if the builders are going to have this kind of disregard for whatever they agree to with me, I have great consternation about what the next set of builders is going to do, because I cherish the trail, and it's the only place that I can go in full shade, be protected, and be out all day. So I can't prove these machines were from the builder, but let's see, I'm asking you these questions. Why would a builder not consider the impact that their proposed project has on the livability of its neighbors? Why would a builder not consider what their project will do to the neighboring home values? I was willing to overpay for my house because I could be near this trail system. I have a tiny house and a tiny yard, but I'm so happy because of where it is. Also, why would a builder choose to clear cut the smallest strip of forest and habitat on the most used trail in the town just in order to build? My only answer is profit. I propose that the code regarding preservation of vegetation and habitat is much too lenient in its verbiage, providing too much discretion on the part of the builder. I have witnessed firsthand and given testimony to the utter disregard for the trail, the woods, and the law by men and their machines. You, the board, are the only thing standing between the builder's desire for profit and your community's quiet enjoyment of our own properties. So what I would propose is that we be allowed to offer a fair or above market value and keep the entire area wild. Somehow make them an offer and make it a park or just protect it forever. Is that possible?
Anything's possible.
So you're saying there's construction vehicles around here. I asked the engineers, I don't believe you have any.
I have pictures of
I've seen them
the
too.
piles of the trees they just left.
Yeah, no, I believe what you're saying.
Yeah, it's there.
I,
It was devastating. And it was last week, last Thursday, Friday,
okay,
this week, Monday.
I've got you. I believe what you're saying. Mr. Vars, would you just address, I don't believe that the engineer, that the developer would even attempt to go in there and do anything like that.
No, there's been no activity on that
So it's
site.
somebody else.
I think they're
It's
talking
the other
about a
end,
different piece
the
of
other,
property.
the other end, the other end.
There's marked out lots,
Just to clarify.
so they had to get equipment in there some way.
Well, what I'm saying is, if the other builder who did get approved agreed to whatever is legally required by environment, and now they're doing this,
Well, we don't
what
know.
guarantee do we have?
You don't even know you're doing it.
No,
That's
this,
what I'm saying.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. And it's obvious
All right.
that you're not aware he's doing it.
Was there anyone else who wished to speak?
Hi, Ken Yankowski, 768 Belleville Trail. The only thing I can add is, I understand, the board and not maybe being able to stop this project, but you can't put limitations on it. So, the setback, the front setback is set for 50 feet right now. Reduce that down, move the houses closer to the road, which will have more open space towards the trail. Also, you can put a limit on the size of the dwelling. Let's say houses can't be bigger than 1,500 square feet. Now, you open up more open space because the footprint is much smaller. And that's really all I have to say.
Okay, thanks, Ken. Yeah, that's, again, see, that goes back, this board is guided by the town code, and I hear your points, but you're saying 1,500 feet. The code allows in an R3 zone, I believe 2,200 square feet, I believe it is?
For the size of the home?
Yes,
Well, there's a minimum requirement
Yeah, I think-
of at least 1,400 square feet.
14 is minimum,
Minimum,
and that would be like small ranchers.
correct.
So that, it's guided by that too, and the developer is looking something up, it's good. The neighbors that are in the area would want to see something less expensive than their houses, I'm sure. I don't know if there's any local residents that are around the existing subdivisions around there, but you want to have normal sized houses. There you go.
I'm Cecilia Robello. I live at 1291 Foothill Circle. The development backs up to me, and so does the pond. I'll take a small piece of a house compared to 2,200 square feet and save the wildlife.
Yeah, I think I just want to touch on
Yeah,
some.
just give us your name and address.
Sorry, Diana Davis, 942 Gaywood Lane. One of the writers of the letter you received, not the person who sent it to the town. Apologies that there were no contact details. We weren't trying to be incognito. Okay, so I think one main point to say is I do think that the wildlife preservation is on everyone's mind, and I think that that is probably more significant to the neighbors in the area than, the size of the house and how nice the house looks. I think that it definitely impacts upon the home values, it definitely impacts upon the adjacent land use for the Birdsong Trail. That sort of piece of property, even though it is not official parkland, has kind of been functioning as parkland for a lot of people in the area. There's trails where people walk their dogs, it's a buffer to the trail itself. I understand that that is not, you can't just argue, well, because people are using it, therefore the person that owns the land doesn't get to sell it. But as the planning board, right, as we have mentioned, you are entitled to place restrictions on the development that are outside of the R3 zoning. The zoning isn't all you have to work with for the R3, you can also work with the subdivision zoning, which is why we put those items in the letter, which pertain to not just the preservation of trees that are greater than 8 or 10 inches, but also just a consciousness, right, of the wildlife itself. And I do take your point that R3 zoning allows up to, whatever it is, 2,200 square feet or something like that. And I don't know how much remit you have to say the house itself needs to be smaller, but surely the setback could be reduced. I actually think that's a pretty brilliant idea. And just say no clear cutting. I mean, there are actually, development in Webster has, I think, historically been such a problem, right? Because we've had a lot of developments that have been these sort of clear cutting, sweeping lawns, tumbleweed blowing across the prairie kind of style things. But not every development in Webster has been like that. I'm thinking of a couple that are off of Holt. I used to actually DoorDash as one of my 80 million jobs. And there are some really nice developments in Webster that left. They're like old, mature trees. Gasberry Lane is another one that I'm thinking of. And they're beautiful. So I'm just thinking, if you're now going to have the houses be for sale and not for rent, you are selling them to people who want to be lifelong, theoretically, residents. They're going to want to pay for access to that wildlife. They would buy woodlots. You're not going to be losing out on profit as a developer if you make these houses basically in a woodlot. And just to speak to, overall, I think the context that we're talking about, I do think that the other development that has been approved at the other end of the trail, I think unfortunately, it's kind of like with Webster, developments that have come before, even though it's nowhere written officially into the code, you don't want 8 Walmarts, right? Even though something might be zoned and a Walmart might want to come in. You have to consider things in context. And because that one came on the other end, it's now made this one a lot more sensitive and dicey and a hot topic because of the impact it's going to have on wildlife. And everybody that lives in that area cares about the wildlife. I've gone door to door talking to people. They all care. It's not just about the peace and the tranquility that the nature affords. They connect with the little does in their backyard and, little squirrels and everything else. So I think that it should be, as Dottie said, held to a higher standard because of that. And I do want to say the damage that we were talking about, it's kind of like a secondary topic, right? Because there's no guarantee this engineer could just as easily stand up and say, well, our guys won't do that, right? But I think it's just an example of how close the development is to the trail, really, and how they're just right up against each other. And so therefore, the utmost standards, I think, by you guys, you are the buffer between what could be a beautiful development with lots of trees and all the residents around the area are happy and the trail is still preserved and yay, everybody gets to buy woodlots, and what could be just like a clear-cut nightmare and everybody's really upset about it. Like, I think that there is an argument to say that some of the things that the applicant hasn't done yet need to be done. So I'm not going to read the letter back to you, but that 296-15A, right? Giving the plan for the preserving existing vegetation, not clear cutting and planting a few things. And then, right, 296-16A, you guys then basically requiring them to maintain existing vegetation and wildlife habitats within the site, right? So anyway.
Generally, and there's good points, and again, so I tried to say before, those are the items that we do look at in final approval for projects. I mean, you could look at minutes of other meetings in the past in wooded areas like that.
Yeah.
We've preserved trees, we've worked around trees, we've done everything you can possibly do. And we do that. So who's thinking that we're annihilating the woods and doing this? That's the stuff that gets frustrating
Sure.
for the sport because it's not factual stuff.
I think the concern was because tonight's application is for preliminary and final subdivision plat approval in one, and the current plat does not have anything related to what we would want to see, I think, as a community in terms of like tree preservation. Mm-hmm. We don't want to see approval go forward before like that, site plan gets changed to reflect some actual effort to like keep the woods.
We've discussed this actually a couple weeks ago with the engineers and town staff and stuff, and this was the outcome of it, is let's hold on that because it really has some environmental issues. We're aware, everybody here is aware of it, and let's address them. So that's why tonight, I don't think we're moving forward with the preliminary and final approval because it's going to be gone through the secret process. So a determination, what's the significance of it? Probably is going to be, I guess, Josh, a type 1?
That is correct.
A type 1 action, which means that there will be a period of time. The only thing we can probably do here tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, is our board takes lead agency for the project, am I correct? We would be lead agency for the project. We would get information. Anybody else that would want to take it, which we doubt very much anybody's, the county isn't going to want it, the state isn't going to want it, so the town's stuck with it. So we end up being lead agency to the project. Then there's a 30-day period where information and so on and so forth can come in and so on, and then we move forward with that. And then items like what you folks were saying tonight. Those are the items that are addressed in this. So this is nowhere near done by any stretch.
Understood. I guess I still would have the concern that once you give approval, there's less remit within the seeker process to, for instance, require a preservation of a certain amount of trees. Who's going to be the one pushing on that?
Well,
That would be my question.
Yeah, sometimes, I'm talking too much here, I know, but sometimes when we look at trees on a property, you take an area where a sewer line, a gas line, a water line have to, service this house. That takes out 99% of the trees in the front. The best place they can be preserved is the back, which is generally what we do, is try to save the trees along the back. And the Birdsong project, if you will, the parkland, actually has a 100-foot buffer of parkland that's, adjacent to this piece of property.
So are we saying that on the current subdivision, or on the current plan, that sort of light green here, this is inaccurate? Because this is,
That's parkland back there.
does this, yes, but where's the 100-foot buffer?
Well, 100 feet of the parkland is buffered,
Well, that's,
buffered to it.
that's not quite the same thing. So I just have one more question, and I won't take any more of your time. So my understanding, and I did get in touch with a lawyer, just to check that I had this understanding right. The sections of the code require the developer to submit the location, proposed development of all buffers, location of existing stands of trees, particular notation, prior to approval. That these contents are not optional. So not only that, but for you to then ensure, right, 296-16A, that, that existing vegetation and wildlife habitats are maintained, when the plan quite clearly doesn't address that, to defer that, to say, well, that's going to be done at the level of seeker, you're approving it before you've done those two items. So that, to me, what I was advised by the lawyer that I consulted is that those two items are not optional, and if they're not attended to prior to approval, it opens us up to an Article 78 appeal.
I think all this stuff would be before approval anyways, right? I don't know what she said.
The board cannot act on the application until the secret process is completed, so what Tony's referring to
Can't
Can you speak up?
Got you.
Run it back.
He said the board cannot act on the application until the secret development process is completed.
Correct.
So you're saying approval is not going to be issued tonight, it's just going to be designated a type 1 seeker.
Yeah, that's
The
right.
planning board is going to declare themselves lead agency, go through the secret process. And
But you're not granting approval tonight.
No, that's what I said before.
I'm going to shut up and go down then, okay?
That's what I said before. So
Sorry.
it'll only be for the secret process
Okay.
tonight.
So the concerns that have been raised, the board can take the opportunity to address it with the developer and the
Okay.
engineer.
Okay.
And take that feedback.
Okay.
And then their plans if resubmit.
Okay.
At a later date after the secret process is.
Will there be another public hearing so we can see it?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to ask a couple more questions, a little bit, a couple more, but I don't want to just do repetition here. Again, please understand that this property is in for sale, somebody buys it, as much as we would want to say, God, it's a beautiful piece, add it to the park. Well, who's going to add it to the park?
The town.
Go talk to the town and tell them to buy it.
We have.
The town has bought it. They're not going to buy every piece of land that appease every person. Every little
The
piece.
comprehensive plan marked that piece.
All right, we're not gonna argue this here, okay?
The
All right, anyone else
neighborhood,
wish
the
to-
neighborhood residents did offer
I-
to buy it,
I hear you,
and
but
the
I can't
gentleman
see
is
it.
more interested in profit.
Yep.
And refused.
Yep.
The neighbors offered to buy
go
it
to the money.
at a fair price. This is profit 101. Disgraceful.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Isabel Kaplan, I live at 1278 Clear Pond. I have a question about the map, I need a clarification, please. This yellow, this green strip here, this L shape, is this part of
Yeah, that would be part of
Little
that lot,
Tree's
yes.
property?
That would be part of that lot, the first lot there, yes.
Okay, so it's actually not a buffer zone to 250 or anything like that?
No, that road, it goes out to 250, but there's nothing there. It's just a narrow strip of land, that's just the way the land is, because there's
Okay,
already an owner for property right next to it there, the gray spot.
okay.
So
Yes.
the green, exactly, yeah.
Okay. I was just curious about whether that could be somehow preserved as woodland.
Well, originally, actually, if you think back, when the applicant came in originally, what they were gonna do there was make a parking lot for, for the Birdsong sanctuary. Well, the neighbors, the adjacent neighbors, they weren't too thrilled with that, making it a parking lot, rightfully so. So the developer said, okay, then we'll just leave it the way it is, and it'll be part of the lot, that's it.
Okay, all right, I just need a clarification, thank you.
No problem. Okay, anyone else? We'll take a couple more from Webster's.
I just have a quick comment, I guess, since I'm here already.
Sure, go ahead.
Hi, how's it going?
Sure, go ahead.
My name is Kevin, I live over on Kilburger Park. From what I'm hearing tonight is that the people want a comprehensive plan for the town to steer more towards an open green space and preserving green space. And they're concerned about the interests of this planning board. And so I think we just gotta have some clarity on not only the comprehensive plan and prioritizing for people who clearly here in Webster want to preserve the open space and the green space, but also reflect that in the zoning map, because we're very cognizant of what's happening in Penfield. They changed the zoning, the comprehensive plan last year, shifted the whole plan to the zoning map, and now they're building a Costco and ruining that whole beautiful stretch of land. We are, from what I hear from the people here, it sounds like we're all worried about that happening here, and so we just want to grasp onto our comprehensive plan and have a good sense that the people here are at least going to agree on the document, and that we're going to have some ability to negotiate on behalf of nature with this board. Because you might see a growth in the tax base and want to enlarge in the tax base or whatever, sell to developers, however that all works, and do the business. And if you're good at the business, then that's going to be growing. However that works, I don't know, but that's what I wanted to say. So
thank you, appreciate it. Good comment. You're right, the comprehensive,
you're all too nice.
coincidentally, our comprehensive plan is what designed this as residential R3 years ago. So that's why it is what it is, and we just go by the book. If it was zoned for an apartment, that'd be another whole story. If the zoning got changed, I don't think anybody would like that either, so. But anyways, that's what it is, and that's what we deal with. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Chambers, and I live at 1474 Oakmont Boulevard. I grew up here. I love this little town. I respect the fact that this person bought that land. I get it, what you said about the older couple having property. My parents were those parents.
There you go.
And he needed to sell his property. It wasn't here, it was in Ontario, but I get it. My concern here is what I heard the woman say earlier, not about this property, but about the property where she was out for a walk and met a bulldozer. Are there guardrails around when this person does bring in and start developing the housing that we can prevent meeting a bulldozer on the trail? Is there something that doesn't do that?
Yeah, actually, that's one of the first things that's required is they'll have to be putting fencing around. It won't be a barbed wire fence or anything like that nature, but they will.
And not a Trump wall, nothing like
No,
that?
nothing. No, but they will have to, move the, mark off the perimeter.
Okay.
And for erosion off of the property and so on. And they will not go onto anything on the park line by any means.
Okay, I appreciate that.
That's a
And I really want to have the utmost faith in this person who bought the land, that they respect Webster. They came here to build in Webster because they obviously see value in it. I know there's a lot of profit, I know that people are talking about that, but I want to hold in my heart somewhere, they want to hold the integrity of Webster. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.